Hi, I'm Greg Hunter, and this is the weekly news wrap-up for May 25th, 2012. Well, the big meeting in Iraq over Iran's nuclear program was a big bust. Now, you know, the U.S., the U.K., France, Germany, Russia, Iran, and China were all involved in this meeting. And, basically the West wants Iran to stop enriching uranium up to 20%. It's been reported that at the 20% level. It doesn't take long to, boom, boost it up to 90%, and that's what you need for a nuclear weapon. Now, the U.S. and Israel is afraid of Iran getting a nuclear weapon. Now, recently, Iran has said that, this week they said that they would allow inspectors in to look at their program, but still, this meeting ended up being a bust. They didn't get anything done. All they got was an agreement to have another meeting. That was what happened last month. To have another meeting next month, the 18th of June in Russia. Now, Israel's the big wild card here. They're the ones who say they're most threatened by Iran's nuclear program. And listen, Iran has repeatedly said it is for the peaceful production of energy. But the Israelis and even people here in the U.S. and many people in the West say, no, we don't think so. Listen, Israel did not take military action off the table. As a matter of fact, Ehud Barak, the defense minister, said, hey, just because they said they allowed inspectors in doesn't mean we're going to take military action off the table. And, Israel has big friends in Congress, and, they say that this is just a delay tactic. That's also what the Israelis say. This is just a delaying tactic. Meanwhile, Iran can keep on enriching uranium. And I say to that this meeting really is a meeting to try to avert war. Are they going to have another one? Yes. At some point, though, they are going to stop meeting. And at what point does Israel say, okay, that's it. Listen, this isn't in good faith. We're done. We are most threatened by Iran. And then they take action. Now, some people say, the U.S. won't allow them to take action until after the elections, and that Israel can't attack Iran on their own. And to that I say, are you sure about that? Because if there's an attack, it'll be world war. And it'll be ugly and messy. And I hope we have peace on all sides. Next up, Greece. They're openly talking about them leaving the European Union, the monetary union. There are those who say, it could be contained. Really? Isn't that what they said about the subprime crisis in 2007? It'll be contained? Yeah, in some markets, housing prices have been cut in half here in the U.S. It wasn't contained. And this European debt crisis is a huge problem. It's not just a debt crisis. It's a bank solvency crisis. The banks hold the debt of Greece, Spain, Italy, Portugal, Ireland, the pigs. That's all sour debt or way underwater debt. And what happens if they leave the European Union? Do they just stop paying the bonds? Will the ECB be forced to print tons of money along with the Federal Reserve? Will they do it in time? Will the whole thing collapse first? Will this happen at internet speed? Oh, those are a lot of questions. I think ultimately they'll print money. And that has its own special, huge downside. And the downside comes with inflation. And inflation hurts the lowest members of society the most. If you're making $1 million a year, what do you care if you're paying $10 a gallon for gas? If you're making $10 an hour, that's a big problem. Right now, who knows what's going to happen with that. But that's a story really worth watching. USA Today came out with a big story saying, well, the real annual deficit, according to generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP, if you count everything, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, the bank, everything, is closer to $5 trillion a year for the last couple of years. I say, really? Well, if you've been reading this site and following John Williams at shadowstats.com, he beat USA Today not by days, not by weeks, but by months. Months. And they're just getting around to their own special investigation. Yeah. Bravo with a story that you're months late on, USA Today. JP Morgan Chase, their $2 billion trading loss is reportedly turned into $6 billion trading loss, maybe $7 billion. There are rumors that it might be more than $30 billion in trading loss. William Black, who's a professor of economics and law at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, also a former top banking regulator, says this is a devastating threat to our economy and to our democracy down the road. A devastating threat. The derivative problem. You know, there's J.P. Morgan alone has $70 trillion in derivatives, and other banks are doing the same risky derivative debt bets. Derivatives are not for loaning money for cars or mortgages or for factories or equipment, produce jobs. No, it's just gambling. And the gambling is supported by the taxpayer in the form of guarantees, FDIC guarantees. It's utterly outrageous. And they don't want any regulation at all. We want the taxpayer guarantee, but no regulation. It's idiotic. Next up is the story about Facebook. And the IPO, initial public offering, was a huge flop. It raised more than $100 billion, but, they also lost $30 billion in market cap since its IPO. Small investors got dinged $600 million, and now the lawsuits are flying. It's alleged that Morgan Stanley, the folks brokering the IPO, knew about negative news and didn't disclose it to the public. Knew about it before the IPO, didn't disclose it. Morgan Stanley and Facebook say the charges and lawsuits are meritless. We shall see. One thing's for sure. People who jumped on that bandwagon early got a pie in the face. Next up, Romney, Obama. I got to comment on the silliness of what they're debating and talking about. It's just stupid. We have this tax-mageddon at the beginning of next year, which all these tax increases, which will kill the economy. We have a huge budget deficit. We probably have a raise in the debt ceiling. We have the prospect of war not only in Iran, but Syria, in the Middle East, and both could turn into world wars. We have this derivative problem with J.P. Morgan Chase and all the banks getting, backed up by the taxpayers and taking risky bets. And they're talking about idiotic stuff. And you know what? Romney is, they say he's running neck and neck, but he's actually a little behind. He's actually not running neck and neck. He's a little behind Obama. And my question is he still going to be behind Obama, at the Republican convention? And here's the wild card, Ron Paul. Forgot about him. Ron Paul. This is the oldest guy in the field and the only Republican bringing young voters out in droves. Is Romney going to cut a deal with Paul and make him Treasury Secretary? Ron Paul wants to change the direction, his words, change the direction of the Republican Party. Could he be wooed by being the Treasury Secretary? Ooh, that'd be painful for the bankers. Or are the Republicans going to try to shut him up and shut him out and force him to run third party? And who knows, he may win. Lots of surprises to come in this presidential election year, that's for sure. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter. Thank you for supporting USAWatchdog.com.